So thank you for joining us for our Tejano virtual event today. We're going to have a great presentation for you today, and we're going to be learning about the EPCC Jardin out there at the Mission Del Paso campus. So for attending today's workshop, you are going to have the opportunity to earn Tejano passport points. So during the workshop, you'll see I'll put in the chat box a link that you can go to and sign up to get these Tejano passport points for attending. So if you would, just get comfortable, mute your mics, and if you have any questions, you can either raise your hand or place them in the chat box down there at the bottom. So go ahead and get comfortable, and when our presenters are ready, you all may start. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, Sarah. Hello, everybody. I guess I would like to introduce us. My name is Kim Diaz. Also in our room, we have Dr. Sarah Martinez. She's a biology instructor. Well, maybe I should allow people to just introduce themselves. Dr. Martinez, go ahead.
Hi, yes, I'm Dr. Sarah Martinez, and I'm an assistant biology professor here at the Mission del Paso campus, and I've been working with Kim in EPCC Jardin since 2022. Seems like not that long ago, but the years have gone by pretty quickly. And we also have Laura here.
Yes, hello everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. So I'm Laura Alvarado, and I teach speech communication at Mission del Paso. And I was able to join wonderful ladies, Kim and Sarah, this past semester to be an advisor and to help with the Jardin. So it's been a wonderful experience. I'll give the floor to Kim. Go ahead, Kim.
Okay. Dr. Martinez, do you mind clicking on the slides as we go through?
Yeah, I'll try to anticipate the clicks. Yes.
I'll try to be quick too. I guess maybe what we could do is begin with a little history. So I'd like to add or say that Mr. Fernandez and I believe Dean Villalobos were the first ones to get the garden going, maybe 8 years ago or so. Dean Villalobos, I believe, got a grant, a Buddy Davis grant, and he put it to use to create the garden. And at that time, Mr. Fernandez, our psychology instructor at Mission, was the garden club advisor. So that worked out real well, and they got everything going. And then through the pandemic, things shut down. And so Dr. Martinez and I took it up in 22. And I guess we could go to some of the slides where we started working. I guess slide number 2 would be great.
Yeah, so our first events were in November of 2022, right? And I remember that Saturday was really cold. And so you can see in our pictures, everyone is wearing a lot of layers, right?
Actually, the slides are not changing.
They're not changing?
No.
Okay, let me see. Because they are coming out on mine. Okay, let me see. You know what? I'm going to stop sharing and then I'll restart it just so that.
You know what else? I could try in the meantime to share my screen, but then so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it here, and then I think I'm adding it to the Blackboard as a PDF, and hopefully that will work. We don't need to. Apologies, but in the meantime, we can keep talking. We were in the middle of cleaning up. We cleaned up the garden, and thankfully, yes, it was a really, really cold day. Um, and I should say, this was really Dr. Martinez's idea. Um, she had done the service learning. She currently does the service learning EPCC crochets. So she thought, you know what, let's go ahead and make this a service learning and open it up to anybody who's interested in learning more about gardening and getting credit. So I trusted her, and here we are now, a few years later. So we gathered students from the high school, the Mission Del Paso Early College High School, and some of our students. Let me see. Here it is. Share now. Okay. Hopefully you see the images now. Okay, so that was our first cleanup. And here we are just cleaning up, super cold day, a lot of weeds. The garden had been neglected for a few years. Let's see. And then it was time, that was in the fall of 22, and then the spring of 23, it was going to be time for our new garden. So here is Dr. Martinez and myself getting some seedlings started, getting people excited. And so then, let me see, we had another cleanup event in the spring and also a day to plant our first garden. And so there's a lot of pictures because the garden had been in the back burner for a lot of us. A lot of things broke down, but here we are, working as a team, decalcifying old hoses. I should add, Mr. Martinez has been super helpful too. You'll see pictures of him. So this is at that winter, and we actually thought that some of our trees were dead because they just had been neglected for so long that we thought we're just gonna have to start from scratch. But so anyway, more pictures of some of our students helping us. And the planting day, here it is, with a little bit of water, some fertilizing, stakes, and a lot of TLC. We got our first garden. So we had different agencies come and join us. NARCS helped us that day. And here's the students planting, cleaning. I know I'm going through them fast, but it's a lot of the same. So it's really great, as a service learning, I should maybe start saying, if you like gardening, if you like being outside, there's a lot of elements about gardening that you get to learn about. Here we have kale, and I'm very excited because the irrigation is working there. That's why I took pictures of all that. And of course the weeds, right? Once you start watering, the weeds come in. But here it is, the garden, our very first tomato right there. A lot of the same. This big tree, we thought it was dead, but it's been great. It's been growing a lot. Some of the stuff that we got our first year, jalapenos, calabacitas, cucumbers, of course, a lot of figs. We have tunas, one of our cactus. The students, this is in the fall of 23, helping us work on the garden, showing off some of the zucchini. Dr. Martinez and her mom and some of our students watering because sometimes physical plant has to shut off the water, and so the team comes together to water things. And yeah, look at the size of those zucchinis. So, Dr. Martinez, would you like to talk more?
Oh, yeah. So one of the things I do whenever we table and try to do recruitments is I will show people how to make recycled paper pots. It's very easy. And what's great about using newspaper as your pot is that you can transfer that completely into whatever destination you're planning for your seedling. It's also really easy to control that little growth cycle with the newspaper pot. And once you have a little sprout, you can transfer it to the bigger pot, or you can transfer it in ground. The newspaper is biodegradable. So you are recycling something, you're reusing it, repurposing it, right? And which is beneficial to the environment. And then you're also saving some money, because anyone who has done gardening knows that starter pots can add up if you're planting a lot of things. So this is an easy way to get lots and lots of little pots that you are, reusing something. And the library is amazing. The Mission del Paso library, shout out to you guys. They collect newspaper for Dr. Diaz that she uses in some of her other projects with the animal shelters, but they'll usually save me like one little pile, so that I can go out and table as well and show students how to get something started. It doesn't take a lot. You just need, soil, the seed, water, and then the container, which we can get for free.
Okay. One of our first events, besides cleaning up and planting, we hosted the El Paso Master Gardeners came out in the fall of 23 to show us how to properly prune trees. And there's a science to it, right? There's an art to it. And I certainly really did not know much about gardening. I've been learning a lot, and that's why if you want to learn about gardening, join us. There's a right way to prune trees to avoid diseases, and really, we're literally cutting off limbs from a tree, right? So if we don't do it right, we could we could really damage the tree. So there's right ways to do it, also to avoid new growth. And yeah, Mr. Lobato at the time sent a lot of his crew, the physical plant crew, the groundskeepers, to also take advantage of this workshop. So people from the community, people from within the college, some of our students, we were all very lucky to have that demonstration. And so that was the end of the fall of 23, and so here's the beginning of our second year. I failed to mention too that, again, I did not know what I was doing. I've been learning a lot, and even though I planted a lot of vegetables, what I noticed was that they were flowering, but I was not getting any fruit. And so it took me a while to realize that I'm slow-witted like that, that flowers need to be pollinated. And so I failed to plant any flowers. And so that was the push for the second year, to plant flowers so that we can attract pollinators, to pollinate our flowers so we can have fruit. And that's us planting the second garden. Students, people in the community. You see Mr. Martinez right there. He's always been super helpful. Also, we got help from Mr. Fernandez and his dad, who established the first garden. We recruit them to help us run a water line, so that we could water the south part of the garden. So now the south part of the garden has water, which is great. Then also we partnered with a troop of Girl Scouts, and they have been so helpful. Here they are making beds for us. And so we had a day where that's all we did. We just planted flowers, and the Office of Student Success helped us. The tutoring center came out and helped us, admission. and the Girl Scouts came out, and so thankfully we had a great turnout, and we geared it towards children, and so that yeah, they helped us plant flowers, and then I've learned a lot about irrigation. I'll spare you the details, but if you want to learn hands-on irrigation, come and ask us questions later. So or just come and join us. You'll learn. Okay, so this is some of the harvest of the second garden, and by then we're also attracting other customers who like what we're doing. We tried planting a peach tree, and there's right ways and wrong ways of planting trees. I've been learning. I mean, without going into too much detail, I guess I could say a little bit about that. I didn't know, so back when I didn't know, I would amend the soil with good soil, right? Because if I try planting a tree in the sand here in El Paso, it's like I'm setting it up for failure. So we used to amend the soil a lot, but now we're learning that we're not supposed to amend the soil, or if we do, minimally, because otherwise the roots grow in a circle. Just where the good soil is, they don't actually branch out. And in the long term, that damages the tree because it chokes on its roots, or if a strong wind comes, it doesn't have a broad root basis, so the wind can knock it over. Anyway, so there we are learning how to plant the tree, and this tree did not make it. We did end up planting another tree. Let's see. Also, Mr. Joshua Segoviano from NARCS also got another grant, and he and his team came out and did a lot of planting permaculture plants that attract pollinators and help our garden. In the fall, here we are planting daffodils, and I'll pass it over. And then this is last fall, we planted kale and beets. We started doing our first winter garden. So we planted cilantro, beets, and kale. And then at the beginning of this year, I'll hand it over to Dr. Martinez.
Okay. I'm always super fortunate to I always want to express my gratitude to how fortunate we've been to have such great community partners like NARCS. It stands for the North American Rock Garden Society, and they specialize in the desert hardy plants, so that we know that the plants that we're putting into the garden are going to be able to survive and thrive in our arid desert environments. And another group of people that I would like to acknowledge are our partners in service learning, Ms. Pat Islas. All the events that we throw, they help by providing the food that we provide to the students, and then the tools and different things that we had in the garden up until this year have really come through service learning for the most part. So very appreciative to our partners, NARCS, and also Ms. Islas at service learning. So in the summer of 2024, I submitted a grant for funding to expand the aims of the garden, right? And so I submitted it to the Buddy Davidson Foundation. And when I do the work with the Buddy Davidson Foundation, this was during our recent planting event, it's to bring on bees. And so I was awarded this grant in the fall of 2024. And then that led to a lot of preparation and a lot of changing of the garden. If you have been paying attention to our pictures, there's like different structures, different greenness, like different growth, right? And so when we had our planting event in the spring of this year in 2025, we also had brand new inhabitants of the garden, which were the bees. So the bees made their first appearance to the greater community during this time. And I just like want to shout out how like great and amazing Dr. Diaz has gotten at growing things in our garden. She truly is the irrigation master, right? And whenever there's a problem, it's always like with the irrigation, Kim knows what to do. And you can see that in like the bounty that we get, right? So with the aim of improving the understanding of our pollinators in the garden and supplementing the growth of the garden, bees are now inhabitants of the garden, and you can kind of see them. They're like in the corner right there. That's their little home. That's the bee yard. I'm going to get there. Here we go. So I won a grant for $63,575 from the Buddy Davidson Foundation, and I then undertook the task of learning as much as I could about bees. And I also had to like build an enclosure for them. The enclosure for them is really so that they don't bother people. Like sometimes people have these misconceptions about bees, but they are very gentle, the bees that live in the garden, and they're really not going to harm passersby. But this was, you know, to keep everybody safe, right? And so you can see there, I'm very proud of my beekeeping certification that I earned through Texas AgriLife. And then in that picture right here, I have, this is when I got the bees. So I got the bees like a week before we had the spring planting event, and they came in a package. And when you buy bees in a package like this, it's just bees. Like they don't have any established environment or anything. You are just hoping that the bees are going to like their new home and establish themselves. And so most new beekeepers will tell you that at least one of their hives will fail the first year. We have not been any different, right? So I started with 2 hives, and they were doing well for a few weeks, but I lost the second hive. So the second hive that's there. So there's my dad. There's me. When we first got the bees, I was very afraid of them. And so I was wearing head to toe outfit. And it was very hot in there, and I'd soon become very comfortable with them. You'll see in like subsequent pictures, I really don't wear a lot when I'm out there. So this was during the planting event, and they had already been in their hives for a few weeks, I think 2 weeks. And so during the planting event, we put in a little pond for them. Bees cannot swim, so that's why we've got rocks in the pond. They sit on the rocks and can drink water. And I'm demonstrating there in that bottom corner that the bees have started drawing comb. Drawing comb is when they fill in the wax structure that they're going to use to put baby bees or honey. So these are brand new bees that didn't have any established structure, so they had a lot of work to do. Also, I've had a lot of help from my friend who is a chef at EPCC Culinary Arts Program, Chef Edgar Morales. He has been a great help to me. We both got bees at about the same time. And so he comes over and helps, and that's him with me in the bee yard right there. Okay, so over the weeks, every week or every 2 weeks, I do a hive inspection and I feed the bees. So in this middle slide, what you're looking at are bees that have what we call capped brood. And so those that yellow coloration you see, that's going to be where we have baby bees. And so this frame that I'm showing you in the middle is a nice healthy frame with lots of growth, capped brood in a nice pattern. Whereas the frame that's in the corner underneath the hive that's called the Borg, it doesn't have the same amount of growth. And so unfortunately what happened is that the queen from the Borg, that's what I call that hive, she left or died. And so that's how I lost that hive. But not all was lost. The bees that were left over, I transplanted them to the first hive that you see here called Resistance is Futile, and they were adopted, and so they are existing happily in that stronger hive. That left the Borg empty, so I had to go and look for another source for bees. The bees that are currently living in Resistance is Futile are Italian bees, and these are the gentlest bees that you can get, which are really good for beginning beekeepers. When I'm doing inspection, so you can see how my outfit has changed, right? Here I am with just a hat on, not even gloves. When I'm doing inspections, the thing that I look for is the queen. So here in this frame, in this picture right here, there's one of these bees that's not like the others, and she's a little longer. She's a little, yes, there you go. There's our queen bee, exactly. So you want to look for the queen bee and make sure that she's there. And because I didn't find the queen bee in the Borg, then, you know, I realized something was wrong and I had to replace the bees in that hive. I had the opportunity to. So having hives in the desert comes with its challenges. Some of the things that I have found are that it gets really hot, and that is preventing them from making babies and making honey. So I put in fans, and they have such a nice little enclosure now. You see I've put mulch down, and this increases the humidity, makes it a little bit cooler. I also put in misters, and you can see there's a little bee enjoying the mister. They like to fly through there, and they like to, you know, cool off that way. And this week, I actually put a second box onto our hives. So now we have 2 stories. This helps increase ventilation, and it also allows the bees to grow. So I'm happy to report that I now have 2 hives that are very strong and strong enough to grow into a second box. So this first year is really a building year. I'm not going to be able or wanting to harvest honey this year. They need all of that honey to survive over the winter. So I'm just leaving them alone, letting them enjoy whatever honey that they are making this year. But next year, we're going to start exploring the honey harvesting and, you know, the fruits of their labor. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so this is the second replacement. And what I did here is I was able to secure what's called a nucleus or a nuke of bees. And this is when you have bees that already are established. So they are a different subspecies of bee. These are Spanish bee. So we have Italian bees and we have Spanish bees. These bees come from a local honey farm in New Mexico, and they are a lot better at making honey, but that makes them a little bit spicier. So they are a little bit more, you have to be a little bit more careful with them than you would the Italian bees. But they are getting along. I did a lot of like little improvements to their habitat. So they're getting along and doing really well. Both inspections recently showed queens present in the hives and making lots of little babies, and they're even starting to make honey, which is what I was hoping. I want them to have honey as we go into the fall so that they will survive a winter. One of the main purposes of bringing bees, in addition to, you know, them just working in the garden, helping out with the pollination, is understanding more about their biology and about what they, how they can survive in a desert environment. So through the biology courses here at Mission del Paso, enrolling in those courses will provide students with opportunities to do research as it relates to the bees and their environment. I'm very excited that we're going to start offering those hands-on lab experiences this fall. So, you know, if you have any interest in learning about bees, beekeeping in the hobby sense, then I definitely would love your interest, right? I would love help when it comes to these inspections. They're getting kind of heavy for me to pick up those boxes by myself. But you can also enroll in the biology courses and do hands-on research with the hives and with the surrounding environments, the garden, the bee yard, so that we understand and we help these very important pollinators be able to survive and thrive in our desert environments. And so that's all I've got to say about the bees right now. We've been very fortunate to have Laura join our team, and so now we're able to add service learning hours to what Kim and I were, Dr. Diaz and I were previously able to have, right? So I usually host the hours that are on Monday. Dr. Diaz usually hosts the hours on Wednesdays, and then Professor Alvarado has been hosting the hours on Tuesdays. So we are, out in the garden during these times, working with the different plants, and we encourage you guys to, come out, ask questions. We would love the help. We're always looking for volunteers.
I just want to add also, Sarah, that, as I started helping this past semester, and you don't have to be a master or an expert gardener. I'm not. I've learned a tremendous amount of information, and I really enjoy it, about, just everything. And so you don't let that hold you back if you're not, if you're a novice. First, and then second, also in one of the pictures I'm there with my family, it's also a great, like a student parent resource experience for yourself and your children when we have the planting events, and it's a community also oriented, so it's really fun and enjoyable. There we are with my daughter Caroline and my little baby Israel. So it's just really wonderful experience. I encourage you to be involved, get into service learning, reach out to professors or doctors Diaz and Martinez. They have really developed and just made this such a wonderful experience for everyone. And so it's something very fortunate that we have at EPCC. Thank you. And I don't know if Kim or Sarah wants to add anything else, or maybe move to questions or comments.
I guess I would like to just mention, let me see, one other thing that we did was propagate trees. For me, it's a big experiment. I don't ever feel like I know what I'm doing, but it's a big experiment, and so I'm learning. And one of the experiments was to propagate trees instead of just these figs need pruning. But instead of just pruning them, we thought, okay, well, if that branch has to come off, then how about maybe we can have another tree? So that's an ongoing experiment. But I just wanted to mention that because there's so many elements to gardening. And if you're interested in learning more, let us know. That's all I wanted to add. Anyone else? Or anything else or questions?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to share that I think it's great that you all have started this garden, and then it's just turned into a really big learning experience. Each year you learn something new and you put it to good use, and everyone's learning how to do this so that they can then go on their own and do it also. So I think it's really neat to see how it's evolved, and now that you even have the bees. So I think it's great opportunity if anyone's interested in joining. What would be the best way for them to get involved with you all if they're interested?
Email us. Our email is right there on the screen. Email us and we will let you know the details. It's service learning, so you pick. These were our times for the spring. They might change a little bit for the fall, but we will post our times, and during that time you can join us, and then we have different projects that need to get done at different times of the year. And so if you want to learn, about preparing the soil, for instance, or pruning, these are different times of the year that we do. I don't know about the bees, but there's different elements at different times and of the seasons, right? And I would just encourage you to contact us, and that way we can show you around the garden, and then we can begin working on whatever project we need to work on.
Yeah, email is definitely the best for contacting us, and we will add you to like our Teams page, and that's where you can get updates on when events and meetings are. As far as maybe any student who might be interested in taking biology courses where we're doing research with the bees, you can email me and I can give you a heads up on the CRNs, because it's not just me. I have a team in biology and we're rolling out different projects with the bees. So if you're interested in taking a class, or you have to take a biology class anyway, and you want to work with bees more hands-on, then I can direct you to where you should be signing up for. So there was a question in the chat that are there any plans for other gardens at other campuses? So I know that at the ASC, the culinary program, they have a garden, and their garden is amazing. If you're a student who is interested in culinary arts, they do grow a lot of vegetables, and they have a hydroponics greenhouse where they use tilapia to fertilize different herbs and different plants. And their garden is also mostly an organic garden, and one of the things that they strive for is to use all of the food products, so that nothing goes to waste there. They have amazing compost, and through my work with the bees, I've been able to go over there and see their garden, and I know they have an amazing program. There are some other campuses where they're establishing a garden. They're definitely wanting to grow their gardens. I think that the Trans Mountain campus is currently working on growing their garden as well, but that they're sometimes very campus specific, right?
Other questions?
Oh, well, thank you all very much. This is very, very interesting. And I would invite everybody to, if you're interested, to get in touch with them so you can participate with the Jardin or to go out there to see it. I'd like to go see it too. I think it sounds really neat. So thank you all again for presenting for us today. We appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Isabel says the fruit is delicious. So thank you all, and thank you all for coming to see our event today. Next Friday, we will have another presentation, and we'll be learning more about the campus closet and the Texas mentors. So that will be next Friday at 1 o'clock. Again, don't forget about our Tejano Passport program. You'll see in the chat that I did put in a link that you can get credit for attending today. Just by clicking on that link and signing in, you'll get credit, and it'll show that you attended. And there is information about the Tejano Passport program on the EPCC website. So I invite you, if you're interested, you can earn points towards getting a medallion just by attending EPCC events. So please join us next week for our session. And again, we thank Dr. Diaz, Dr. Martinez, and Ms. Alvarado for being here today. So thank you, and y'all have a great weekend.